Starting on defense first is going to be Fontt with Black Dragons going to attack. And we see that Garage downstairs. Consulate is a bit of a mixed bag, but basement is where they're going to go.
Latin America, when picking Consulate, has pretty much every single team they've favored the Garage. It's been a pretty definitive thing. And the clear strategy when it comes to attacking the Garage seems to be starting in the admin office all the way in the far top floor on the east side of the building, and then clearing out the roamers and slowly progressing your way over towards the actual bomb site, trying to use vertical control to the best of your ability. That's been the attack strategy. The defense strategy has usually been a couple roamers upstairs, a little bit of pressure in the middle floor as a fallback potential for the basement. But we'll see how Fontt actually orients themselves on their first defense round.
And take a look at the defense. They have a mute as the only way of preventing a push in through that Garage. Lacking a Thatcher for the attackers, they'll rely heavily upon, I suppose, that IQ and maybe the buck from above. But if you look at Black Dragon's composition, it looks like they did it in such a way that they wouldn't suffer too much if Fontt had gone upstairs.
There's also the fact that there's no Jaeger, so the grenades from the IQ, if they choose to use her on the panel, very easily could clear out any potential mutes. Although it looks like the majority of those mutes are being used to deny drone game upstairs, which I think makes a lot more sense. It seems to me that Fontt is just choosing to forfeit any potential contention on that main Garage panel. And here you can see Black Dragon setting themselves up to do just as we expected, an admin office clear on the top east side of the building. And they're going to look to force the roamers downstairs one floor at a time.
And you've got the formidable power of both Gohan and Astro as roamers or pseudo off-site players. One thing that Fontt is doing very well, and I've seen them do before here, is using those mute jammers as a way to prevent their roamers from being found out, as you alluded to. And it's something that has worked really well. I mean, of course, not the greatest as Gohan, going by GoHack, I suppose, as his name right now, is going to get found out. And of course, one thing too, a little known, I guess, or often forgotten fact, is that those mute jammers are going to mess with the tracking ability of Jackal as well, but to a lesser extent.
Astro going to be challenging from the CEO office onto PZD. Luckily, does not get shot in the head, so we'll be able to tuck himself back into his corner. Now, the important thing here is that half the round has already progressed, and unfortunately for Black Dragons, they haven't had any progress at all on these two roamers. The two Fontt roamers are playing very safe, and it's working out great for them. Mav going to get the first kill of the round onto Kamikaze. GoHack getting a kill onto PZD, and it's already looking pretty good for Fontt so far. The Ela charge will be detonated, but Psycho will hit the shot, so that doesn't matter too much. Astro inside a CEO behind the desk looking to contend this Psycho push. After losing PZD, Psycho now is essentially just in a 1 versus 1, and this could be the outcome of the round right here, ladies and gentlemen. Astro will come out on top, and now a 2-on-4. And that's Black Dragons pushed into an even darker corner.
And two of the best shots on both teams have to do battle on that second floor there.
Yeah.
And you can see that now Black Dragons is going to struggle. Now, of course, you do have the Thermite potentially opening up that panel. You should have no problems as the mute charges mostly, or sorry, the mute jammers rather, mostly all used upstairs. But you have Julio and Wag far apart. Julio is going to, or Julio is going to get jumped on by Astro, and now the smoke will do its job of just holding Wag out. A difficult proposition going up against 4 members of Fontt. As you can see, they will start to circle. A great shot from Wag onto Astro, but Cameraman clutches things out. Just exactly what we'd seen from Cameraman 2 weeks ago as his clutch ability down the stretch. And look at that. A beautiful shot, and Fontt take round number 1 quite convincingly.
Yeah, and it's all to do, honestly, with that roam game on the top floor. There's not much other to talk about than that roam game. If Black Dragons had been successful in clearing out those 2 players, it would have been a simple case of having that 5-2-3-man advantage, using the vertical control, establishing dominance, and or just simply walking into the site. But despite the fact that Fontt neglected to contend the main Garage panel, it was still all down to, hey, we put up our own wall upstairs, and you cannot get over it.
And there's 2 very early picks as well. And when I say early, they actually weren't that early, as you mentioned.
1 minute 30.
It took them 1 minute and 30 seconds to really work their way into the site, which is the roamers doing their job really well, but is problematic if you are the attackers, because you got to be faster than that. You got to be quicker, especially when you're going up against a team like Fontt that is as strat heavy as they are. And for Black Dragons, I honestly believe that this is going to be their biggest challenge yet, going up against a well-established team with lots of experience online as well as offline.
I would argue that Fontt actually even plays better offline. More often than not, I think they're definitely an offliner team. Similar to North America's Continuum. But all that aside, that's just speculation. Now we have Fontt in the lead on this very much on, or actually offline, match between Black Dragons and Fontt. They will be going on to attack of Black Dragons' basement hold. Again, the basement preference continuing to show face here for Latin America.
Also keep in mind, Fontt was the team that gave Penta the largest scare at the last LAN as well. On Gamescom, they took them to overtime 2 maps in a row. No slouches were the other teams, but Fontt did look the best against them, and I think that if they've taken the time to really bone up on what fell apart for them, then they could have serious, I guess, serious odds of winning this LAN. Of course, they want to come in as first overall seeds to make sure that that's more of a possibility.
If we're talking about having, you know, more things in favor of winning your LAN, I mean, it's Fontt being an online team, having great performance at LAN last season, and then more importantly, again, there's what we talked about earlier, the fact that they have home field advantage. They've got a lot in their favor right now, and if they can carry forward with this first seed, that's going to give them the positioning favor in the bracket, so even more. If they can get it, though, Black Dragons are going to certainly put up a heck of a fight, and as you can see here, Fontt, they have opened up the garage panel, but they haven't made any serious progress elsewhere. Not putting a lot of emphasis on the roam clear, simply going for a sort of one-dimensional attack in through the main garage panel.
I was going to say, my observation with Black Dragons right now is that their focus on defense is much more site-heavy than we saw from Fontt.
Yeah.
And it's going to be difficult for them to crack this because, as you said, one-dimensional, a very good way of putting it. It's just going to be a singular attack. Astro comes down and somehow misses that frag onto Wag playing on pipes, but amidst the chaos, you can see that the Thermite of Cameraman is getting the diffuser down. Manages to survive a C4 as Moringa takes down Wag, and PZD finishes off camera, so that will be no diffuser down in the final seconds. He loses that one, and Black Dragons holds an advantage right now of 1 body over Fontt, and now it'll be 2. As Gohan goes down to PZD, and that leaves just Mav and Moringa with 1 minute left in round number 2, and tying their hopes of continuing onwards.
Mav going to be challenging from outside the garage, and the single dimension going to be working out for Moringa now as he challenges onto the pillar. Will take out PZD, but it's still a 2v3 with only 40 seconds to go. And only now just getting that camera that has been spying on them this whole time. They have to pick up the diffuser before they can even go for the plant. No smokes on the Ying nor Candelas, which means disruption's not going to be in their favor. There are flashbangs on the now dead Mav, so it's not going to matter. Julio going to be eliminated by Moringa, though, and another kill! A double kill for Moringa. An excellent shot. Psycho in a great position to lock this out, though, will finish the round. All he had to do was wait there, and he played it perfectly. Although, gosh, that gunplay from Moringa. Excellent.
I was astonished there. Psycho just needed to wait, and essentially Moringa was bleeding time and didn't really have any other options. And this is the kind of back and forth seesaw that I think we are going to witness between these two over the next 2, and I would say likely 3 matchups.
That's a safe bet.
Now, for Fontt there, I think they could have really gotten a little bit more benefit out of applying some pressure upstairs inside a piano. They really didn't do much to put any sort of worry into the minds of Black Dragons, especially those that were playing in the office as well as cafeteria. Now, because of this, it allowed them essentially free reign to just sit and know that the push was coming from one direction. When you telegraph your push, it's very easy for them to rebuff you, and that's exactly what happened.
I think the more important thing, I mean, you're absolutely right. They telegraphed the fact that, oh, we're just going to push it through garage.
Of course.
But also, we're just going to push it through garage by itself is kind of, I would argue, not the best strategy, especially in this day and age. On a Consulate basement attack, you need to have more than one single idea. You need to be able to come from maybe put some pressure into piano, you know, trying to open up some floor, or do what happened on the very first round from Black Dragons, I believe it was, where they tried to clear out from the top to the bottom on the roam game. I mean, Black Dragons didn't even have much of a roam game. It would have been an easy clear, and it would have established much more dominance. While it would have taken time, sure, they had plenty of that, and I think the fact that Fontt just simply lingered outside garage was really what did them in on that round.
We've touched on the fact that Latin America tends to play a very take your fights and win them attitude in regards to how they play this. And I think that's been a major detriment when playing against teams from EU and North America, mostly because of the fact that North America and EU are a bit more strat-based. And when I say this, what I mean is a very good way of looking at this is the fact that verticality is not often used by Latin America teams. I don't really know why. It works for them, but let's take a look at the fact that really the only level play that we see is Astro gets kill number 1 on a kamikaze. That'll be their sledge down. The only verticality we really see at all from Latin America teams is a C4 through the floor or down below. We never really see a buck or a grenade. We never really see a sledge and a grenade. We never really see an ash charge. There's very little time that they spend trying to flesh people out from different levels of the actual structures of the maps. And I think that that's very interesting, and I would love to ask these teams why that is, because it's something that they're probably going to need to get used to when they play these teams in North America, APAC, and EU.
I mean, it's something that's been more prevalent, I would say, in the Latin American region as of late than in the past. I mean, we saw a little bit of vertical play on the previous match today, but at the same time, you're right. There's a lot less, and I feel like it's just different factoring. But whatever different way they choose to pick apart the defense and the different ways that the defense choose to put up their walls in an attempt to stop the attack. But whatever the case be, now it is going to be a evening out of the score as Psycho takes out Gohan inside of or actually just outside, I think, the A bomb site by reception.
Now they'll finally be able to get their push. Psycho has proven that Glaz can still stay relevant. I like that the teams that we're seeing today are the ones in Latin America that do tend to favor the Glaz pick. And now down goes Moringa, and Psycho 2 in a row! What an unbelievable play as Astro is gone as well before Mav cools him off. But you can hear Diffuser is down, and Fontt will have to fight for their lives on this site in round 3. Mav just a touch of health with Cameraman still up, but they'll even it out as Wag goes down. So you've got Julio and PZD. A little bit of detective work from Cameraman from below, trying to find the members of Black Dragon. He will spot, of course, the Ash, but no C4. So you'll have Mav try to work with that communication, but PZD smartly will not peek and just wait for that diffuser to go off. No Claymore there for him to jump out upon. So Mav does some pre-firing, and we'll see him, but fails to get the kill. A trade-off as Julia goes down to Cameraman. It's 1v1. Members of the FBI, oh, just as Cameraman jumps, PZD closes it out, and Black Dragons takes round number 3. 2 in a row for them now, up 2-1.
A good attack there from Black Dragons. A little bit of a misplay coming from the Ella inside of A or just outside, whatever the case be. Her job was to hold the A bomb site. She proved incapable of that. After the Ella went down, it was a very swift take from Black Dragons. They didn't hesitate. They simply vaulted in, went for that defuse without a second thought. Even despite losing those players to the C4 and on the incline, just the Valkyrie was some great gunplay. They did have enough man advantage at that point to continue to establish control over A, get the defuse plant, and simply walk away. And there you go. That's a round in the bag. That's a great mentality from Black Dragons to have. As you could see there on that round, they were so clearly focused on the objective. There wasn't a lot of, hey, let's go and take control here and get to crossfire and get these kills. It was just, we have A bomb site, plant, and hold. And it was a great read from Black Dragons to be able to execute as quickly as they did.
I'm really impressed with what Black Dragons is doing at the moment. Now, Psycho is somebody who can take over a game. At the moment, he is doing just that. He has his team around him to help, but strong play for him is something that is, I think, going to lift up the rest of the team. One thing to keep in mind, this is, of course, Black Dragon's map. So we expect them to do as well as they have. And the general assumption is that when a map is picked by one team, of course, you should go into it thinking they're the favorites and that they should win it.
Right.
Not always the case, of course. We saw that last time around. But regardless, I think it would be a bad trend if Black Dragons failed to lose this. But they've come out really strong, and it's going to be important for Fontt to be able to match this fury that we've seen so far. And I see a Sledge now who, other than the grenades, why do you see a Sledge ran on this site?
Again, I'm guessing it's likely preference. However, the buck isn't going to be that much more useful. I mean, we're talking about opening up a floor rather than a ceiling, right? So you can easily do that with the hammer. Of course, buck is arguably more efficient at that, but at the same time, the hammer will get the job done. In this instance, it's likely a preference pick, coupled with the fact that it's not going to be the worst thing in the world.
A Legion shotgun is an interesting choice from PZD.
It's actually really good.
But I think it's a very smart play here. Why? Because the way that I see Fontt's composition working out is, number one, you're likely going to nade it on the stairs onto PZD. He's going to get away with losing just a fraction of his health, and a second grenade is now going to go down. But he's going to artfully dodge the first, not so much on the second. Luck runs out as Gohan gets a nice frag onto the shotgun of PZD, or onto the shotgun running Legion of PZD, so we won't be able to see that silenced 6 at all.
I think that's probably one of the first times we've actually even seen it in the Pro League as well. It doesn't see... I mean, Legion doesn't see a lot of play, and then the SMG is more often the preferred pick when it comes to the weapons.
Well, because of the way that Legion plays out himself. He's not really an up-in-your-face operator as well. He doesn't really take that, and especially if you're going to play him on site, as a lot of people do, or an aggressive site player, rather. Now, for me, what I was going to say very quickly is that with a Capitao, you'll typically position him upstairs, he'll shoot fire, and he'll shoot that smoke through the skylight inside of the actual console office, or you'll position him on the window so that they can jump in. But I'm a little confused as to why they wouldn't run a Ying here, because it seems like that would be a very good pair. Moringa goes down, and we are now at 4-4, so they won't even get much out of their Capitao as we are in the final minute of the round.
Yeah, with only 50 seconds left to go, Fontt doesn't have a lot to work with here. They seem to be going for a B bomb side take, but they haven't established anything. Mav going to try and correct that fact by eliminating WAG elsewhere, but still, the rest of the Black Dragons defenders are focused to a fault almost on the B bomb site. And if Fontt choose to rotate here, they could find themselves with a lot of options, but no, they're committing to the yellow stairs push. Cameraman gonna come up the stairs and miss the shots onto Psycho, but likewise for Psycho onto Cameraman. And we will be having a continuation of the contention from the Valkyrie before she gets taken down by Gohan from the connector window. Good team play there. Now it's a 2 versus 4, but 2 of the attackers are also very lit. Thermite going to open up the wall with only 10 seconds left to go. The attackers have to rush this out. The SMG from Julio going to get, no, not 2 kills, just a single one. But will he deny the defuse plant? He does. 3 seconds to go. All he has to do is stay alive, and it will be a defender round in favor of Black Dragons against all odds. 2 versus 4 will come out with the win. A very impressive round there, and that will put it, I believe, on 3-1.
I'm no real need to go into depth on how inefficient that Mira shotgun is as a sidearm for getting kills. Took 4 shots to take down an immobile Glaz, but just underscores how strong they are on picking apart walls and the actual destruction, which is why you'll see them run it in the first place. Now, I liked Black Dragon's play there. They got very loose on those stairs, on the top of yellow stairs, pushing in. They were able to get the pick and bathroom and then push into the cubby by console office and get that kill as well. And, or rather, Fontt did, my apologies, and Black Dragons just managed to hold on. And Mav, unfortunately, didn't have the covering fire that he needed in order to get that defuse down. There was no significant pressure. Cameraman got taken down miraculously by Julio just outside of the bomb site, and that's where I think everything ultimately fell apart. Now, Black Dragons looking on to go on attack against Fontt, who looks mortal at the moment. This is a team that, of course, has lost matches or maps before, so Fontt is not coming in with an unbeaten streak, but Black Dragons putting up more of a fight than I think a lot of people thought, especially the community at the moment.
Of course, we are going back onto the basement hold, and the important thing about this basement hold is it's the one round that Fontt has managed to win so far. Now, last time Fontt was successful here is because Black Dragons committed way too much to the roam clear and ultimately didn't accomplish anything with said commitment. This time, Black Dragons is going to be privy of the roam and are likely to simply go elsewhere or address it in a different fashion. We'll see what their actual answer is to this problem, though, in just a few moments, as Black Dragons situates themselves definitely with a focus on the garage panel. Oh, wow, Astro going to be eliminated very quickly into this round, and already it's looking great for Black Dragons. This is not the same defense we saw in the very first round from Fontt. Challenging on the yellow stairs up to Psycho, who's on the skylight. Not going to see either of them dead, but it will continue to stall out at least somewhat for the attackers. Although this has thus far been a pretty efficient round for Black Dragons.
We see the first buck as well, which is something we touched upon, and now they'll run them in favor of a sledge. I think that's a smart idea. I'm glad to see him come up. You could even have a Jackal in there. You see PZD. There's a couple shots from Gohan, who's now going to be trapped in the top of yellow stairs and will likely be pinched in just a moment or two. Unless he's able to sprint away, which actually doesn't really look like they're applying much pressure to him at all, even though they were able to drone him out. So 90 seconds burned, and you've still got Gohan with the only one really watching, Wag, the Thermite, looking towards the bottom of yellow stairs if he tries to reconnect to the basement.
Yeah, Gohan looks like he's going to fall back down through Spiral. That's the smart play. Black Dragons now have successfully, with a little over half of the round progressed, have forced out the roam game, and that's very important. Now that they don't have to worry about the roam game, they can easily open up this garage panel. Once they have the garage panel open, they can use vertical control using that Buck Kamikaze inside of Piano, and then just simply push in with that coverage through the main garage panel and get the defuse plant. That is a two-pronged garage attack that's not, one-dimensional like we were seeing from Fontt earlier, where it's just like, hey, let's push in through the main garage. I like this deviation from that from Black Dragons.
I'm curious to know where they currently have Kamikaze as Buck at the moment, as a bit quiet, but of course
there he is.
Jammed. So you can see he's doing exactly what needs to be done. He'll get that mute jammer, which will allow them to get the exothermic charge off as he tears apart the floor from above, and will now make it so that Fontt can't freely move through the site. A perfect opportunity for a toxic bag to go down, as now Psycho gets a smoke of his own off, this one with much less lethality, and another smoke will go down too. The way it will hang in the air, Gohan looks around at the last moment and allows Kamikaze to push up unabated. As you can see, that the defuse plant is going down in the corner, and they'll look like Wag will be able to get away with it. He'll manage to lose his life, but still the diffuser goes down as a refrag from PZD onto Mav, puts us at a 3v2. Up pushes Cameraman, and down goes the Blackbeard, leaving us at an even contest. But the diffuser will be a significant factor, as a third of it now has gone in terms of time. Psycho with that long-range lethality of Glaz sitting just outside of the range. And now Moringa looking to try to do battle with the Buck. He will win. An unbelievable shot from Moringa, as Psycho will have to close in on Moringa. And will the smoke be able to do it? Cameraman runs out. Are you kidding me? And they'll get that diffuser. A great and triumphant comeback from Fontt. And 3-2 will be the round score, still in favor of Black Dragons.
A nice comeback there from Fontt. Really should not have been their round. Black Dragons had everything in their favor, including a little bit of luck on the positioning of Fontt and the timing as well, specifically on that Ella yellow stairs. All in all, it was looking pretty good for them to put it onto match point, but Fontt still showing that they are one of the top, certainly one of the top competitive teams out of the Latin American region, and they will be putting up much more of a fight moving forward. Now, that is the basement defended successfully twice for Fontt, and that's all they've been able to make work for them so far. The question really remains, are they going to be able to make any of the attacks work, and are they going to be able to defend any of the other bomb sites? Because now they're going to be attacking onto Black Dragon's garage, which again was very much a... Their attack onto the garage from Black Dragons last time was just, again, we talked about this, just pushing through main garage panel. So we need to see a little bit more variation from Fontt, something different other than opening up the panel and walking in. And if we do, I think they have a pretty good chance, because despite that being such a one-dimensional strategy, they had, I'd say, decent luck getting some frags in that round.
Absolutely, and I like that they were able to apply a bit more of a thorough attack too, and that's something that I don't know if we're going to see from them moving forward, but it allowed them a chance to at least put pressure on the site. And Wag was able to get that diffuse plant off largely because of the fact that the Buck from above was refusing the rest of Fontt to be able to move and stop that. They had to rotate longer around White Van across, or through pillars, across the White Van, and then yes, the Mira was able to collect the kill, but it was a little too late as the diffuse plant had already gone off. Now, if you're down an operator at that point, that round plays out completely differently, and all you need to do if you are Black Dragons is just hang on.
Yeah, and Team Fontt now, they're going to be going for, looks like the same about-ish kind of attack strategy here in this round. Big question for me is, are they going to actually attempt to roam clear, or are they just simply going to go for this panel? Because, I mean, it looks like right now they've got everyone stacked for another simple panel push. They have a lot of smokes and in their hand, and they could probably get a diffuse plant, but this is such a big risk. It did not work for them last time. Will it really be enough to, was it close enough to justify a second attempt? I don't think so.
I mean, maybe there were things that they've assessed at this point that could have gone the other way, but I mean, you're going to have to flush out the C4s first and foremost. That means that Julio, who's playing just outside a White Van, is going to be your primary target, because that C4 alone can rob you of your ability to plant. And then you lose one, you have to go fetch the diffuser. It essentially ends up being a fool's errand, and that's problematic. Now, you do have the smoke upstairs, which means that if you can get in early, that the smoke might not be as much of a contest, but there you go. You've now fleshed out the C4 of Julio, but unfortunately for you, he has managed to get the C4 off, get a kill, though he is refragged. So now you still have another C4, though, in place of Mute, but look at that, how early it goes down, and Cameraman in place to deny Kamikaze's push up, and there's going to be another refrag as they're trading back and forth. PZD able to take out Cameraman, and now some smokes going down to obscure the garage, and they're just going to try to play time here. A really nice toxic bag will come out. And you can see that Mav is just going to sit and wait. Somebody's going to rush around the corner to try to get him. Gohan ends up getting taken down after kill of his own. Wag comes out, and he's going to now start to work away on that diffuser. Astro might not know. He's going to have to deal with Psycho, but no, a great shot from the Valkyrie, and Black Dragons will push us to match point, 4-2.
A great defense there from Black Dragons. Also a great attack, though, from Fontt. And we're seeing the same thing that happened to Black Dragons on the previous attack into the basement for the opposite team. A diffuser planted very quickly and early into the round by coverage of smoke, and then a simple retake from the last two remaining members of the defenders. And it's kind of eerie almost how we're seeing that reflection.
Yeah, it's... Fontt tried again a strategy that seemed to work at the start, but the follow-up was lacking in what they needed to do, and it was very easy for BD to just capitalize on it. BD sounds weird. Black Dragons. It was very easy for Black Dragons to capitalize on it and just pick apart what was left.
You know, the simple matter of why Fontt lost that round, though, is it's partially because they attempted a strategy which obviously Black Dragons was aware of, but it's mostly because after they got the defuse plant, they didn't stop. They kept pushing in. They were like, oh yeah, let's go get those kills, instead of just, hey, let's, you know, maybe fall outside into the garage, or outside the garage, and wait to cover the defuse plant. They had two people out. They had a Thatcher and a Glass, but everyone else committed. They're like, woo, let's push. Yeah, get them kills. And it's not the right mentality to have. It's just not objective-centric. And unfortunately, when you're playing in an objective-centric strat, which kind of pivots around singly getting the defuse plant via the cover of smoke, that's not the right mentality to have.
I agree with you, absolutely. And if you took a look at the scoreboard there for just a second, one thing to note is how even the kills are on both teams. It's eerily similar to how even this match has been, yet the score at the top says otherwise. And that is a worry, but it looks like Astro was actually considering a run out there. That would have been right into the Hornet's Nest, as a number of members of Black Dragons were there and really wouldn't have been in his favor. So smart move, opting to stay inside. And now for Fontt, you've got to hang on and hope that on defense you are successful. They've won twice on defense so far, but both times in the basement, and upstairs, not so much luck.
Yeah, no, and you could see that the attack strategy is going to be the same thing Black Dragons has been doing throughout the entire day on Consulate, which is start an admin office and work your way from there. It's honestly, it's the sort of attack strat that can't necessarily go wrong. It's pretty easy for the attackers to establish this control, even if a mirror window is playing inside of a cafeteria, and in this instance that's not the case. It's still not that much contention from the defenders. There's not a lot they can really do. So now that Black Dragons have this beachhead, they have it established nice and neat, they can start to methodically push away layer upon layer of the defense of the A-bomb site, establish crossfires, and go for a simple defuse plant, which they did very effectively the last time they were in this situation. However, this instance, they don't have anyone on the A balcony, at least yet, which is where a lot of the pressure came onto the Ella and Gohan, who is playing inside of A, which, again, ultimately was the reason that Black Dragons, last time they're here, were able to simply get that defuse plant.
Now they're looking to push in through that copier room towards the front desk upstairs, and we'll get the wall just inside of A. A lot of heavy drone work right now. You could see some shots onto those X-Kairos there will deprive them of the ability to open up as much of that panel as they wanted, and the pulse of Cameraman situated trying to crawl out of harm's way. At the moment, though, with 1 minute to go, it's been a very calculated move from BD to get into this site. And PZD is going to be the first one to encounter, and what a shot. Gohan just completely oblivious to the Ash inching around that corner. Doesn't quite hit that razor wire as Julio adds to that with Mav going down, but Astro able to clean one up before falling to Psycho himself, and this is not boding well for Fontt. Only 2 remain to try and stave this off. A huge blast to the chest from Moringa as he tries to get the plant going down. What a rally right now from Fontt. Cameraman with 2 big kills on a PZD and Julio, and around the corner, Moringa gets Kamikaze to keep Fontt in the running. Still on match point, still alive, but still in favor of Black Dragons.
An excellent round there from Fontt. It really should have been Black Dragons through and through, but the oversight from the IQ allowing the Pulse to stay alive downstairs in the main lobby was so crucial. And then even more importantly, as soon as the IQ was aware of that Pulse downstairs, trying to push in, losing that fight amidst the C4 detonation is a huge, huge mistake. So the downstairs control from Fontt really working out a lot there, and that's that vertical game we were talking about that really doesn't see a lot of play commonly being so emphasized on that round. There's still potential though for Black Dragons to lock this out without and deny overtime on Consulate. It's still match point, and they are defending at the top floor, so we'll see what happens.
The last time, and the only time, rather, that Black Dragons did defend upstairs, they were successful in their defense there. And I'm not going to be too surprised if we see that repeat again. It's really going to depend on how Fontt approaches this. Now, take a look at their lineup. A couple things. They know that they have to go onto the second floor. There's not a single hard breacher whatsoever. No Hibana, no Thermite. But the sheer destructibility of running both a dual Sledge and Buck is very interesting. You've got 4 frag grenades available at your disposal. You've got 2 asphyxiating bolts. You've got 2 smokes. You've got a claymore or 2, depending on what the Blackbeard is running. Likely going to be running smokes. Or rather, sorry, the Blackbeard cannot run a claymore. That is my apology there. I was thinking of another operator. So likely going to have your stuns there from Mav. I'm assuming that this is going to be a very heavy console push. They're probably going to try to take A, because in that case you don't need your hard destruction, you don't need your hard breachers, and they'll line up, likely perch that Blackbeard on the window, have Buck do some damage on the floor, either from above or from above on that skylight or from below, and then use your frag grenades to flush people out, and then just simply get in and plant.
You know, it's interesting. I would agree with that assessment, but it seems like Fontt, for the most part, are actually focusing on the B-bomb site, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the B-bomb site's a weird. Oh, nice Valkyrie cam there on the ceiling or on the roof. But yeah, the B-bomb site's an interesting one to be taking from this top floor because it puts a lot of pressure onto Mav using Blackbeard to actually take out whoever is playing inside B before the time runs out. And whoever's playing inside B for the defenders, if they simply wait patiently, they could deny him any opportunity to do just that. We'll see what happens for Black Dragons. PZD is going to be playing on those yellow stairs again. Last time he was here, he was playing with a shotgun, but this time with the T5 SMG, he will be playing much more aggressively on the skylight.
He's got a good opportunity there to get a peek, but he himself is going to get moved out of the way. And very smart that they would run a Jaeger here, especially to deal with those frag grenades. And no Hibana's X-Kairos to burn those ADS very quickly like you'd see before. A Mira will get dropped, though, from the Twitch drone of Astro as we encroach upon the final minute. And you can see a nice little drone hopping through the hoops there as Julio will get found out. Losing that Mira will have to, of course, push back, as he can't deal with guarding it the same way as if it was closed.
I'm sticking away here for Fontt. They haven't really made any serious progress yet. They have opened up mirror windows, yes, but that's not going to mean much when it comes down to it. The grenade goes onto Wag and misses. Looks like it hit the pillar. There's a little bit of luck there for Lag to allow him to stay alive inside B, and that is going to continue to stall out this round. Moringa possibly looking to fire arrow the Jaeger in the corner, but will he have enough time?
Mav is going to grab a kill here. I like this push, but it's a little late. Only 30 seconds. Doesn't really have an opportunity, especially with the Nitro cells that are still in play at the moment for Black Dragons, all of whom are going to be positioned to take maximum effect. And of course, you still have the disruption of those impacts from Legion. In will go the Capitao of Moringa, and Julio will have to retreat and hit the floor. That's going to take him out of action for a considerable amount of time as Legion takes Astro down. Out goes the Claymore, but the diffuser goes off unbeknownst to Black Dragons, and now Fontt has strong control. Cameraman will eliminate Julio as the Mira tries to get back to site. Psycho is down as well, but Kamikaze tries to even things out as down goes Gohan. 3-3 at the moment, but Diffuser getting very close to the halfway point. Camera will go in a joint effort from PZD as Psycho had pressured onto him just outside of Piano, and now PZD looking to try to retake the site. Psycho, a great shot onto Mav, and it's just Moringa holed up in the closet. He sees the gun barrel of PZD, looks the wrong way. Moringa gets one. There's only 2 left. Diffuser inching towards the time. They will not have time now. He gets Kamikaze. Moringa on 2. Psycho, no chance, and we will head to overtime. Moringa, a triple kill to end the round. 3 in very short order. Excellent play from him, and Fontt will live on. 2 OT we go.
So this is the Fontt we were expecting to see. Definitely putting up much more of a fight here. That was an interesting B attack, though. They took way too much time on that round. The first kill happened with only, I think, 40 seconds left in the round. I was onto the Jaeger, and then even after that, they took another 20 seconds before they started their push into the bomb site. It came down to the last moment possible, and they got a little bit lucky, I gotta be honest. They had some really great positioning, though. So despite them taking so much time, they had all of their bases covered. The first thing that they had covered was the Blackbeard on the window was able to deny a direct just rush in from the defenders to retake the B-bomb site, and that's very important. After they had that covered up, the next thing was, of course, the Julio roam. So Julio dropped into the main lobby with in an attempt to C4 from below to deny the defuse plant. He actually did get a C4 off, but it missed. And then immediately after it missed, you saw Cameraman was there by Yellow Stairs to get the kill onto Julio, taking him out of that round pretty effectively. Which forced the rest of Black Dragons to kind of rotate a little bit in a way that didn't have enough manpower to force Moringa outside of the back of B, who simply had to wait, despite losing all of his teammates.
One thing that, as well, that Black Dragons has done that I don't think has been mentioned yet is they have effectively shut down the pair of Astro and Gohan. 2 of the best players in the Latin America scene off-site, and they right now are both bottom fragging on their team. That just speaks to the fact that Black Dragons has been doing a very good job of flushing them out early on and being able to take them out of the equation before they themselves can add to the kill count on behalf of Fontt. So that has been a pretty big success story for Black Dragons at the moment, because we have seen those 2 be able to rack them up and be a significant reason for Fontt's success so far. Not just last season and the season before, but this season as well.
Yeah, and they did have a pretty successful round on that first round, but since then, it's been a good read from Black Dragons to see their positioning and just counteract it on the fly. But all of that is the past, and now in overtime, again, Black Dragons starting on attack, and it will be Fontt starting on defense. Fontt have had a pretty alright time of defending this basement. It's been hit and miss, but I think they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable getting defense first. Double mirror window, or no, just a single mirror window, rather, on the main garage panel. I gotta wonder what the actual plan is with that.
Not entirely certain. The mirrors that we see on Consulate, it might have the widest variety of mirrors that we see on any single site. It seems like they'll play them upstairs, they'll play them on the 2nd floor, they'll play them on the 1st floor in that bathroom, they'll be downstairs, looking towards pillar and pipes and van.
I mean, I would say the reasoning is pretty simple. It's that, you know, Mira's not necessarily like a 100% pick rate on defense of Consulate, but she's still pretty useful. Although her usefulness is subjective, and I think that's why we see her mirror windows kind of vary a lot.
Absolutely. And I mean, the other thing, too, is depending on how your defense is going to stack up, those mirrors are, of course, very pliable. You can put them wherever you'd like to try to get the most usage out of them. Look at how slow Black Dragons has been to get onto the site. Now, Fontt has been very successful when they've been in the garage, and it's no surprise, but Black Dragons has already spent 2 minutes and haven't really done a ton. You can see the small hole that'll be opened up by the sidearm of Jackal as they will manage to get that mirror window from above. Wag will lead off the killing onto Astro, and that is once again one of the 2 off-site players of Fontt going down early, and now they can have a bit more maneuverability to try and press the site from above. Moringa will get spotted by Psycho, lose some of his health before scampering off and into the comfort of another room. But you can see some destruction from above. They've done this without a buck, which is great. A good kill from Gohan as PZD goes down. Wag low on health as well, holding the diffuser inside, and Kamikaze will push up white, or push up yellow stairs rather, towards those pipes, and Kamikaze gets the kill onto Gohan as we hit the final 10-second mark, and there is urgency that is needed from the attackers right now. You can see that Cameraman takes out Kamikaze. Down goes Wag as well. Fontt just holding on. Cameraman gets 2. Julio's going to push. Moringa and Cameraman adds that. It's a flurry for Fontt, and they have retaken the lead, and they are now 1 away from stealing this map from Black Dragons.
Tick-tock, Black Dragons. You really got to be on top of that timer a little bit more than what we just saw. They didn't get the garage panel open for the first 2 minutes of the round. It took them a long time to establish that control, and then even after getting that garage panel open, most of the attackers were upstairs. So they had to push down the yellow stairs and the drop down in the main lobby. That doesn't really lend you a lot of options. That kind of forces you into what I would call murder lanes. The main garage is the most, I would say, optimal way to push into the bomb site as an attacker. And you usually want at least 3 people doing that if that's your primary focus. In this instance, it was the focus of Black Dragons, but unfortunately they got distracted with the roam game. And because they were only able to get the single kill on that roam game, there wasn't enough man advantage for them to just brute force out the round.
And now that leaves Black Dragons to have to defend the garage, or basement, rather, or the garage or the basement or what have you.
Both are correct.
Both are correct parlances. And both times that they have done this basement hold, they have been successful. It would have to break that streak, of course, for Fontt to win this. I like that they're running an Echo, but I am very interested to see how they use them, because Echo is an operator that once, very similar to Buck, we don't see Latin America use an awful lot.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, though. The last time we saw Black Dragons down here, they would have been, I mean, both teams when they were in the basement the last time. You remember it was the diffused plant and then a retake from Black Dragons and Team Fontt the last time they were in the basement. But negating the previous round that we just witnessed. But it would have been a lot easier, considerably so, if there was an Echo for either team, because it would have outright denied the diffuse plant in the first place, which, again, both of those diffuse plants came pretty late in the round, because both of these teams on attack are really taking their darn time. We will see Fontt actually get the panel open very early on in this round. That is definitely good to see. They still have plenty of time to work it.
This is Fontt's typical strategy, though. They get their panel open right away, they bull rush in, they get torn to pieces, and that's it. It falls apart. We'll see if they've learned from their mistakes, because like I said, the 2 times they've tried eerily similar strategies, they've been punished very, very hard. So it's one of those things where you have to adapt or die, and in this case, the game is on the line. Yeah, and on match point, you could potentially close this out and go to the map you favor.
And there's also the fact that there's that Echo that we talked about earlier, which is just going to make it even harder for this exact strategy. It's a direct counter, that operator pick.
There's no Thatcher there right now, close to try to take it out. They don't have an IQ either. The Thatcher will just need to disable it, but at the moment not poised to do so. And you can see they're just waiting. The one thing about Fontt is that they have also taken their time to get inside. They're not going to be as, I guess, foolhardy to just surge in, and they'll have to wait. You'll see the smokes will go down, some Candelas as well. And that Echo does get disabled. So there you have it. They can potentially get in while the Echo is down to an EMP. Julio is going to look for a C4 kill, but he's completely blind. Astro runs in, and Moringa gets on the board first, followed up by PZD as Gohan refrags. And now you have lost your Mira as well as your Ella. Echo is still up, but down will go your Mute, and they just run right in. And now it is a frenzy as Moringa gets 2, and it's just up to Psycho against the world. This is the match on the line. And Psycho's going to peek around White to try and do it. He'll have to fight against the Diffuser, and Mav sitting on that glass will have good sight lines. But Psycho in tough shape.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot going for him.
And he'll wait. And Mav is going to have a good line of sight on him, but Cameraman as well as Gohan from above. Fontt take map number 1 on what was Black Dragon's pick by a score of 6-4. And I think there was some serious doubt there as to whether they would close it out or not.
That wasn't just Black Dragon's pick. That was honestly Black Dragon's map. They had that. For the majority of that map, it seemed like Black Dragons had it well within their control, and then it just slipped away. Inches away. Oh, look at that. Moringa, 15 kills.
Astonishing.
Putting up so much work for his team. It's astonishing. That is a good word. Astounding. But let's take a look at the highlights, see what exactly happened through that map while we talk about it. Yeah, no, that was Black Dragons performing super well, and unfortunately they didn't have enough to force it out in the end. I Fontt with a great comeback though. You really got to attribute a lot of it to them. especially on that last attack round. I mean, that was the 3rd time we've seen that exact strategy.
But it worked.
But it worked this time. And even more important, there was an Echo, which is one of the, I would say, the most direct counters to that attack strat. And the Echo didn't actually stop the strategy from working. It did delay the defuse plant, but not enough. Because, and this is also important, Fontt didn't linger outside the garage for 2 minutes. They started their attack run with like 1 minute 30 on the clock, which is great because then they have time to maneuver. They don't have to rush themselves. When
you end up having to fight the clock with the final 30 seconds, you have that pressure in the back of your mind that not only do we have to get this right and not potentially throw the round, but we have to do it right within a certain amount of time. It gives your room for error a very small window. And on top of that, the EMP disabled the yokai, which forced Echo to get off of his drone and go up and try to actually push himself, in which he paid for it with his life. One thing of note, it was 4-2 Black Dragons, and it finished 6-4 for Fontt. That's
what
4 rounds in a row that Fontt was able to put together, and that's the sort of clutch play that you need if you're going to try to play well at LAN. So we'll see how they fare on Clubhouse, which is the 2nd map up, as we just round out the highlights, and then we can load into map number 2. For Clubhouse, this is Fontt's map. Gohan and Astro were essentially shut down on Consulate. These are their 2 roamers. These are the people that they usually rely upon to be able to carry things, but Merengue and Cameraman stealing the show this time around. That's part of the depth of Fontt. They have players that can take those rounds, but you're now going to a map where roaming is nowhere near as prevalent nor significant.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be Fontt starting on defense, which means that on Clubhouse starting on defense, that means you're going to get to defend the basement first. I'm curious to see if we're going to see what what has been happening from a lot of other regions, like North America, for example. Every time Clubhouse cops in, one team will try to force out a roam on the basement hold. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But will we see that from Black Dragons or Fontt in this matchup moving forward? It's a big question mark, and I think that you're right, it is going to favor Fontt because they don't have to think too much about their roam game because it's effectively nullified by the virtue of the map itself,
right,
which will lend them then more freedom in their manpower because those guys won't be out roaming and getting themselves killed. But it's still, there's still potential for Fontt to try and force it out. I could totally see a forced roam.
I think it's really going to depend on a couple things. Number one, it does look like Gohan and Astro have been playing cold today. Usually if they've been on fire in the previous matchup, I'd say, you know what, they're doing their job, they're picking them apart, let's throw them out there and see if they can continue that. Obviously now with the way they've been performing today and the way that Black Dragons has been shutting them down, maybe a bit less confident in that measure. But for me, the big thing is going to be if Black Dragons comes out to a strong lead, no, I wouldn't take that risk. But if I'm Fontt and hey, I'm up 3-1, look at what CTM did yesterday. They were up by a substantial figure. We'll get ready and we'll head right into Clubhouse now, but we'll keep talking over top of the transition into the actual game. But for me, Continuum did that yesterday where they were up by a sizable measure and they said, you know what, let's get really aggressive and in their face. And it worked out quite well.
Yeah.
And they were able to bully Infamy around the entire map because Infamy lost its confidence and its swagger to be successful in clearing them out.
Yeah, and sometimes just doing what is usually considered and categorized as dumb plays really works out for you if you've got the skill to back it up. And that's what we saw from Continuum yesterday. And it was honestly very impressive. You don't often see teams capable of doing that. I don't know if we're going to be seeing that from Team Fontt against Black Dragons, though. I'm going to be honest. So these two teams are pretty evenly skill matched. And I don't imagine either one of them is going to be like, oh, hey, let's just crazy, spontaneous play that seemingly has no cause or purpose, and it'll work out for them. I don't think that's going to happen. I think if we do see a roam game, I think it'll be shut down by the other team, at least on a basement hold.
You see that Ella getting hit so hard with nerfs, they took her entire gun away now as well. So.
Yeah, she just kind of runs around with her her hands and starts throwing bullets at the enemy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what just happened. Oh, I know what that was. So if you throw a Legion at the drop down, it hits the drop down and it drops immediately vertical, so you can know that it's right exactly where you want it to be. An early kill going to happen. Astro taking out PZD. That had to have been a spawn peek attempt from PZD. I would call that foolish.
Egregiously foolish, I would
say. That's not the right call. We're talking about your Ella, too. Ella is a very important operator to have later into the round. It could have just been Astro spraying the doorway, though. You know, he could have just been shooting through the garage door and got lucky a little bit. Either way, a loss of an Ella in the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, and I mean that's that's a huge reason why you do not roam on this site. You don't really need to, number one. And number two, you could have those 5 operators on site, but now what you've done is you've lost one of the operators who could be helping you on the site now too.
Yeah, and it's like, even if he wasn't spawn peeking, even if he just got caught off guard on the rotation, it's the simple case of he shouldn't be there in the first place. Just be in the bomb site. Just wait. Just, wait. Because right now it could be a 5v5 with 145 on the clock, and it could be defenders looking great to win the round, but no, it's a 5v4.
Well, they're all holed up, and you can see now that they've been able to get a lot of control there. Some of those holes opened up by Black Dragons on defense, and some of them opened up by Fontt on attack. And not a surprise to see Buck emerge. That really nice maple leaf skin. One of the best skins on Buck, I would say, being run by Cameraman right now.
Canadian bias.
Canadian bias. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And they'll try to make their push happen now. And of course, you can see Julio is going to get taken down by a really wonderful frag grenade, and he's going to need to get picked up. And that was from the sledge of Gohan. And you can see they will now try to get possession. I don't know why they didn't take that opportunity to push into Church, knowing that they had one down. That was essentially an opportunity, an avenue for you to get in, and they've neglected to do so.
I mean, they didn't know that they had one down. They couldn't see it, of course. But Julio going to get picked back up, and he will take out Moringa before the refrag comes out from Mav onto Psycho. So it was looking real good for Fontt on that attack, but it has taken a little bit of a shift now that Mav is especially on a low HP as a Blackbeard. That's not ideal. Astro, the drop shots onto Julio, and there you have the church wall taken control of for Fontt. Wag going to be in a really precarious spot to hold out this A bomb site by himself. Luckily, he has the Toxic Babes to help him. Kamikaze, though, gets a kill onto Gohan elsewhere, and Black Dragons are putting up a wall where there isn't one, really, and getting these kills onto the aggressing Fontt players. 15 seconds to go. Fontt has to get a little bit more pushy here, as they will take out Wag. It's going to be down to Kamikaze now in a 1 versus 3. He downs 2 of the enemies, though, and now a 1 versus 1. Kamikaze versus Astro, not enough time. The defuse plant does go down, though, and Astro's actually going to be able to pick up his teammate. A little bit of a lack of aggression from Kamikaze will result in now a very seemingly easy win from Fontt, but no, the pickup doesn't come out. Mav eliminated by Kamikaze, going wide on the black boxes. He will hit the headshot, and it's going to be Kamikaze with the clutch. Defense of the basement will be successful. Black Dragons 1-0. And as he diffuses the diffuser, we will be having the commonplace rounds going where they should. Defenders should be winning on that basement hold, 100%.
Huge accolades. Deserved there to the play of the Legion of Kamikaze, and I know why they didn't pick up the Blackbeard, probably a smart idea. I was assuming they probably left him there for the insight and intel in, but I do wonder if that might have been a bit of a mistake.
I question that decision.
Have him safely get to the back of that church wall and pick him up, I think probably would have been a smarter idea, but they opted for something that will typically work out better in the long run, which is don't risk it. How many times have we seen somebody try to get picked off while trying to get another member of their team up? At the same time, a very good start from Black Dragons, and they're able to take a lead on a map that Fontt is hoping to put this away on, and I know that we think that it's probably going to go to 3 maps. Black Dragons looking like that might happen, but what on earth do we see at all? A cash room. That is unnatural, to say the least. Unnatural,
odd, just weird. It's the first defense. They could just go basement. I mean, okay. I get it, right? They're just trying to throw off the operator selection from Black Dragons. Makes tons of sense. But the thing is about that, the attackers that you would pick to go downstairs are often just as efficient when we're attacking cache. That might be different. No, honestly, no, it's not. The attackers are going to work just fine here. You've got Thermite now and Habana, which is what you would bring on a basement attack, which will lend you a lot of power when attacking cache room, because you can open up both of the cache room walls, the cache and the server room wall. You can open up the drop down above the bomb site and have complete control. I really have to question this decision from Fontt. It seems like an unnecessary risk, but they are up a map, so they're the ones who are certainly able to make unnecessary risks and get away with it.
Deployable shield on a Jaeger, cash room upstairs. Confusing, but at least one of the things that they're going to have working in their favor is those ADSs are positioned in such a way that they can eat up the smokes of both the Jackal and the Glaz, as well as the 2 frag grenades that you could see of Buck as well. You saw that the 2 ADSs that were positioned in the garage are not in an area where they can potentially be burned by those X-Kairos. So you don't have to worry about Hibana doing much. Somehow, PZD has sustained a wallop of damage, and you can see has next to no health whatsoever as he's just scrounging around outside trying to find something. And take a look at Cash Room right now. They have opened that wall wide up and waiting for somebody to push into A, not even contesting it, but instead playing very far back and deep in the site.
Yeah, and you can see that PZD, his single job is to deny any flanks from the master side of things, and as a Jackal, he's going to be very efficient at doing that. However, he's on 1 HP. If one of the defenders decide to rotate over there, he's going to be a pretty easy win, if I'm honest. However, what's really most important is that a lot of the round is already past, 2 minutes just about, and Black Dragons hasn't really accomplished anything other than getting a kill onto Gohan. So that's a pretty good start, but it's a late one. Kamikaze going to open up the mirror window of Moringa in that hallway. Once the mirror window has been opened up, that's going to be a lot of control for the defenders lost. But Astro's still on server with his own mirror window, so there's still potential. Also, Mav downstairs with the C4. This is a destructible bomb site from below, so he will be able to deny the defuse plant. And with so little time on the clock, that's going to be a very important thing that Black Dragons doesn't seem keen on dealing with.
This is a site very much where if they try to push in the final moments, it's very easy for Fontt to be able to take advantage of that, especially with the nitro cells. But very briefly, Moringa will give his position away by popping his head up above that exposed mirror window. Some smokes will go down in the Glaz of Psycho trying to spot them, but so far nothing, as PZD will now have to move through Master Bedroom and try to get outside. But they're just simply running out of time. 20 seconds left, and you can see the first kill from Fontt as Mav takes down Wag. Astro sustains some damage, and now another one on top of the bomb carrier of PZD, and now Kamikaze will have to pick that diffuser up. A kill added to that as Astro takes out Psycho, and you can see a number of them downed. And Kamikaze is going to try to rush to cover. PZD taken out as he pushes onto site. Astro, a successful hold. Julio gets him, but it doesn't really matter because time runs out. And Cash proves to be a smart choice for Fontt, as they will now be able to go downstairs all tied up at 1 apiece.
So very clearly there, it wasn't necessarily the operator selection that was caught off guard, because I think the operators could have been made to work on a Cash attack. But Black Dragons themselves were not expecting that. As a team, they spent 2 whole minutes lingering before they actually accomplished anything at all. And as a result, when the single minute that they had left, when they went for the push, there wasn't a lot they could really do. Team Fontt going to be bringing Montaigne to the expected bar defense that Black Dragons will be putting forth, as they were successful defending the bottom bomb site, and they're not crazy like Fontt, so they're not going to be going to Cash. And Montaigne is telling of the likelihood of a stock push. It's probably going to be stock.
Likely a stock push using some form of smoke from Monty. Surprising that they wouldn't run anybody else besides that. My assumption, the Glaz, even a Ying, potentially have Ying go in through that second door in stock just by the kitchen and be able to smoke off right by where a mirror window usually would be. Of course, you see there is no mirror run by Black Dragon, so you don't need to worry about that at all. In fact, I'm a little surprised that they would defend stock without a Mira, because we've seen on Clubhouse an awful lot how integral a Mira is to give you that sight give you sight into the site. Of course, if they have a Valkyrie cam, then that can work as well.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out for Black Dragons. I mean, you could always just open up the wall without the mirror window, but sometimes the mirror window is very helpful in that situation.
Absolutely.
However, it does look like we have 2 soft destructors on Fontt. Okay, so what's probably going to happen here for Fontt is Gohan and Cameraman are likely to go up to Cash, start opening up above the B-bomb site, force out those defenders who are inside of the bomb site. Then we're going to see Moringa lay down his smokes, and likely Mav or Astro going to plant behind him as he's fully deployed on the shield. That is the easiest attack strat that Fontt could be employing right now, and with their setup, that's what it's looking like. But they have a lot of options for deviation from that exact strategy, as they have plenty of time and have already set themselves up for the push. Black Dragons aren't especially focused on defending the stock room, but they do have a lot of rotation holes up here, for example. We have, I believe that is Julio on Rook, who is looking to run out onto Gohan, who is just waiting patiently.
I'm surprised that they've let the Montaigne. They've essentially stalled. You'll see a lot of times this push will be very simple. You come in, you clear out stock, you get a push, and that's it. It's over, and you're able to get a quick plant off. Now, they don't have that at all. You can see that Wag is the only one that is up in stock at the moment, who's been forced out temporarily before going back in, and Moringa starts to inch his way towards the site. But we'll need some support as we hit the minute mark into the round, because time is going to simply run out. And as we approach that 40 final seconds, those smokes will do a significant amount of work to prevent you from getting into sight effectively. And that can stall your push entirely right there.
Black Dragons has very successfully held on to Cash Room. Only now are Fontt starting to aggress onto it. And as a result, this round is stalling out very much. Psycho, the Valkyrie who was doing the cash hold, has been eliminated, but 2 minutes wasted. I'd say that's a successful roam. Gohan gonna take out Kamikaze as he attempts to run out elsewhere, and now a 3-on-5. Wag, the lone smoke inside of the bomb site, the last bastion to defend this B.
And Moringa isn't able to get out in time, but by taking Wag down and now pushing the Hibana up, getting a bit too friendly with PZD and meeting their fate at the Scorpion of Ella. But they have successfully flushed out stock room, so now Moringa can hopefully push in and get the plant off. The one big question mark is going to be Ella, and wow, able to get that done quite easily. Another kill for PZD, that's his third. He has every kill so far for his team. And look at that Ella go. Cameraman just a shred of health, and Mav now is going to be the next one to do battle. With her back to him, is PZD going to be ready for it? No, taken down. Julio will deny the ace, but you can see that they have PZD down as well. It's just up to Cameraman to get on the site, but with 4 seconds left, going to ultimately run out of time. Going to have to play deathmatch, but smartly, Julio will hide and just play the clock, and Black Dragons on a war of attrition will win this one 2-1.
So the focus from Fontt there is counter to what we've been seeing, for example, what we saw from them on Consulate just earlier when they were attacking the garage. What was their entire focus? Smoke cover, defuse plant. This time, what happened? Fontt got carried away with pushing back the defensive line and trying to get those kills again, which we've seen them do before. The first couple times they tried their garage attack, they forced way too far in. And in this instance, there was not one single person in a position to support the Montaigne and get the defuse plant behind the Montaigne. It was all put on him by himself to be able to make that happen. And no, he's not going to make that happen by himself. He needs support. The smoke was allowed too much freedom to delay the Montaigne push, and then right after smoke died, PZD was in as good a spot as any to deny the solo defuse plant. They needed to put more focus on just the B door.
And it's look at the scoreline right now for Fontt. First observation, Astro.
Yeah, look at him go.
This is his map, and right now Moringa has gone cold. And if Moringa and Gohan can wake up, I think that's going to bode, I guess, worrisome. If I'm the members of Black Dragons,
yeah.
Absolutely. But see, one of the gambles that they took by going upstairs to cash was now they have in their back pocket the ability to go downstairs. So they know they've already gotten out of the way, that they've been able to win on a map, or map site rather, that they weren't necessarily expecting to. Now they can go down to the one site that defense should win, as you said, and is absolutely correct. You cannot be losing bar in stock, because that is, well, detrimental. It's the best site for defense, most importantly on Clubhouse.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did almost see Black Dragons lose that first round when they went down to the into the armory, but they managed to pull it out anyway. And the big question mark is we haven't seen Fontt, of course, defend the basement yet. So while they should, yes, win it, if they don't, then I'm guessing if they can't win this basement defense, then we're probably going to see map number 3. I think that would be pretty definitive at that point. I think Clubhouse is one of those maps that's marked by, yeah, if you can't win the basement hold, then you're not going to win the map.
You're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so Black Dragons, when they struggled on that basement hold, is kind of telling of their presence on this map, and it could be detrimental for them in the future on the next time that Fontt gets to attack the basement. And I want to see how Fontt manages their defense in the basement, because that, again, will be the same sort of telling.
So you see, it sounds like a C4 goes off to that hatch there, but nothing whatsoever on the receiving end. So that's a bit of a relief for Black Dragons, as of course those nitro cells can be integral to stopping a push. That looked like that flash actually hit the deployable shield, so they'll expend one of those breaching rounds to take it out.
And just checking for ADSs to be sure he doesn't waste the breaching round so he can use the other one elsewhere. Mirror window over by blue. Interesting position from cameraman. Very easily naded if there were nades on the attacking side, but in this instance there are not. You got to bring those soft destructors with the grenades, the buck, and the sledge. And unfortunately, opportunity missed because of the lack thereof.
And because of the lack of nades, those ADSs will be more crucial now because they'll be able to stop those secondary projectiles, if I can call them that, the stuns and the smokes as well, since you do have 2 with Julio. Now a bit of a delayed push, 1 minute to go, and they're still trying to get their ducks in a row. You can hear one of the smokes will go off as they'll finally hit that blue wall where you can see the mirror is. First kill is going to go to Psycho with that suppressed TMR of Glass, taking down Gohan, and the Ella dying early is a very telling story of how this round usually goes. But you can see Fontt is clustered up inside of Church Bar and just waiting. And they'll have to move as that wall will get thermited, and it looks like there could be some friendly fire here. Mav will have to hold his fire. A good C4 from Moringa onto Julio, but PZD and Psycho adding to that as Mav is able to put his name on the scoreboard alongside Wag. Cameraman the last one left, and trouble in the water at the moment. You can hear the plant going down. Will he be able to get it with the C4? No, Wag is not even close. Psycho gets another kill. Gammerman falls, and Black Dragons winning on the basement, and this is not a good look for Fontt at the moment.
Map number 3, I am guessing. That's going to be a 3-1 lead for Black Dragons, and it's been a super successful map so far on Clubhouse. The one instance where Team Fontt was able to mix things up was on an abnormal site pick inside of Cache. But I don't know if you can really be abnormal more than once on Clubhouse.
The one thing is that if they win this one, they can go back downstairs and potentially win it a second time, and then we could be at a 3-3. But I think the big issue is that they're going to go downstairs. Black Dragons is going to go downstairs, and like we said, that's a site you should be winning. The odds at the moment not in favor of Fontt being successful on that front.
Yeah, and just to touch real quick on that last round, what exactly happened there for the Black Dragons attack? Well, it seemed like the initial plan was a blue moto pincer, but they actually didn't even need to use blue at all. They saw the mirror window, and because of the lack of nades, they couldn't get the aggression that they really wanted onto blue, so they just ignored it and opened up church wall and pushed in through moto. This again, this attack strat, I just need to talk about this. This is year 1, season 2, that attack strat. That is age old. And we've been seeing it from North America and Latin America both on Clubhouse. And it's kind of interesting to see that resurgence of the very simple push moto, push blue, open church wall. It's been working out great for a lot of teams though, in both the North American and the Latin American region.
What we do is go back.
What we do is go back. But yeah, 3-1 for Black Dragons. Definitely having a lot of fun on Clubhouse. It seems like our predictions are right. Again, I don't want to call it too early because it's easy for Fontt to start their comeback here because, like you said, they get to defend the basement again. And if their cache room is continually successful, if it's not just because of the surprise that Black Dragons had, then they could go there next time as well. It's an option for them if it's something they really, truly like. Another thing to touch on is Fontt's basement or cache room defense wasn't even fully tested. The C4 from below didn't even need to get used. So there's still potential for Fontt to bring it back there very much so. They are going to start their roam clear out, but they haven't gotten a lot of progress done so far in this round. It's already a minute wasted, and only now do they enter the building. That is not a good thing.
No, and it just continues on with the storyline so far that both of these teams need a bit more hastiness.
Yes.
Calculated, but still a bit more hastiness, or urgency rather, because you can't just blindly rush into the site. We've seen that a couple times is where Fontt would go fast, but you're going fast carelessly, and that's costing you dearly, and it's in a position where you're going to lose if you're not planning properly. So
I think we all know why it is. I mean, it's the pressure. You're contending here. If you guys aren't familiar with the stakes, they're contending for a spot at the Invitational as well as seeding for the next LAN event, which seeding means a lot. It means like you get the better match if you get the first seed than rather the second seed. But the more important thing is, again, that invitational invite. So both of these teams have a lot of pressure on their shoulders as the stakes are pretty high. And as a result, they're just playing really safe. But I would argue it's really gimping them. It's gimping both Black Dragons and Fontt alike. This safe sort of game style is not working for either of them.
At minimum, 2 teams from every region will be going to the Invitational, given the way that the regional qualifiers work as well as the season winners. So, if you're one of these 2 teams and you lose, not the end of the world because you still have an opportunity to get in via the qualifiers. However, why leave that to chance? Confirm your spot now and make sure that you're at least knowing when you head into Sao Paulo that, hey, worst case scenario, at least we get to prove ourselves and go to the Invitational to try and prove that we're world champions. With that said, 30 seconds and we see our first casualty. Wag is going to go down and Fontt gets the leadoff kill, but Psycho is able to pick off Astro, who's been having a good game so far. Julio's going to add to that as Cameraman goes down, but Moringa finishes off Julio before much else can happen. And PZD finds Moringa, and it's a frenzy as PZD and Psycho finish things off. Black Dragons, oh my word. They're on match point right now, and storms a brewing. If you're Fontt.
So, Fontt has every option when it comes to defense. They can go wherever they please. Could be Cash, could be Basement. Basement was unsuccessful. Cash was successful, and it was the only round they won, but it was, again, because of the surprise factor. So, the big question here for Fontt, will they go back to Cash, or are they going to try and force out the Basement? Now, that last round from Black Dragons was a very, it looks like it's going to be Basement, was a very simple hold. Let's be honest. They just kind of sat in blue and in Armory and waited for the pressure from the main church wall and Moto because there was no pincer attempt. Not even an attempt from Fontt. They didn't even try to come into blue. They just left it open as a defensive position, and that does not work. Just gonna say that. You really have to either, you need to smoke it, you need to disable it via the drop, or you need to put one of your attackers into blue. You cannot leave that as it's like shooting pigs in a barrel when they're running through, or fish in a barrel rather, when they're running through Moto and church wall, if you have the position of blue as a defender. So that lack of a disable from Fontt onto blue resulted in Black Dragons having a very easy go of that hold.
Right, and now, and that is exactly what should be happening downstairs, 100%. And that's what we should have seen from Fontt as well on their defense, was a successful hold in that way. It looked overwhelmingly in favor of Black Dragons, and especially when PZD and Psycho came in at the very end. That was it, it was over. Are we going to see the same from Fontt now? If you're Fontt, well, you darn well better. Because if not, now you have Fontt won map number 1, Consulate. That was Black Dragons. So you end up with Black Dragons potentially winning Clubhouse, and now you have both teams winning each other's maps, and now we send it to Kafe Dostoyevsky.
Well, it's not quite over, you know. I mean, it's 4-1. We've seen crazier comebacks, but wow, an unreinforced drop down in the bar, that is... Okay, that's just lazy.
Inexcusable.
Inexcusable, yeah. Lazy,
I think they realize some teams do that as well with Oregon, though, right? They won't reinforce because they said, well, if a team is going to...
Yeah, but the utility. I mean, okay, yes. You were going to say team is going to open it anyway. They have the hard destructors. Why not just leave it unreinforced? Because then the utility, you could just put it anywhere else. That means that the Habana can open up any other wall that they please. I mean, if they want to pivot into an armory attack now because they don't like their chances of a church wall attack, they can do that because they have the extra utility in hand. That is just lazy.
You now have those 3 separate Hibana charges as well as the 2 exothermics for Thermite that you can put wherever you want.
Yeah.
And that is really not ideal. But I'm wondering where Fontt has put these.
Reinforcements?
Where they put the reinforcements. It looks like they've got that church wall ready and primed for potentially a C4, which isn't a terrible idea, but like we've said before, that is a very, very small needle hole to thread.
Yeah, and you could see that there is actually a Pulse playing aggressively deep inside of Armory, and he's going to have that reinforced wall in the Armory that will... I think there's a hole in it that he could chuck C4s over, so he can deny the church wall from there as well. There's a lot of focus being put on the church wall here from Fontt, so if Black Dragons chooses to go just, you know, somewhere else, that could really hinder this hold.
They pull out an early smoke, though, and they force them to have to commit to that to stop them. A bit of diffuser juggling going on as they survey the top of Motohatch, and it'll be a double drop, but another smoke will go down, and that's where their push will stop for the time being. Astro looks to bandit charge, leadoff kill, goes to the mirror of Cameraman as Kamikaze goes down. That's a good pick on your Hibana, but Psycho, through the smoke in blue, is going to get a couple shots off, but doesn't connect much. The UMP of Moringa takes down PZD before Wag finds a casualty in Mav, but he gets shredded by Astro, who picks up one, and Gohan is going to add to that. This is the type of hold that we need to see convincing from Fontt, as the final shots from Astro onto Psycho will clean out this round. Still match point, but 4-2. It's still strongly in favor of Black Dragons.
Right, you are, but the emphasis that was placed on that church wall hold from Fontt this round did bear fruit. And it was simply because that church wall was unable to be opened up that Black Dragons rather, did not have any serious maneuverability in that circumstance. They had to push straight through Moto door, and that's all they could do. The blue pressure from the Glaz was also thwarted. Very good job there from the Mira playing inside of Armory. And the lack of serious blue presence from the defenders, inside of blue that is, didn't really matter this time around because of, again, that church wall not being opened up. Now Black Dragons, they are going to have to defend the bar, and this is likely to see Fontt's success, but they actually didn't make this work last time. Last time that Fontt came onto this attack, they got a little too aggressive, a little too ahead of themselves, and could not actually establish a defuse plant. This time, they have brought a Montaigne again. The big question remains, will they have somebody buddy-buddy with the Montaigne to actually, plant the diffuser and play the objective?
That's going to be the big question for me, was that they've brought in Echo smartly. I'm assuming that they thought that Fontt was going to run the same strategy. Not a bad idea, because that's exactly what it looks like. But the one issue for me was that they essentially left Moringa alone to plant. Now, typically you'll find that when you have a Monty do that, the Monty will be the escort. They're not going to be the person to actually plant that bomb, but they seem to one time have Moringa do it, and again, it's going to be the same. They're going to rely on the Montaigne to be able to get that diffuser off, which...
I don't know. It's too big of a risk for me. They have, like you said, definitely seems like that's their plan again. But last time, because of that risk that they took, that's why they lost the round. It came down to them losing on time. Yeah, it was a 1 versus 2, Cameraman versus PZD and I believe Julio. But regardless of that, it was still a situation where the time ran out. Right. It was not a win on kills. So they need to have somebody else with Moringa to get the defuse plant, or it's going to be, I think, a parallel of the last round. They attacked this floor.
If you can get rid of one of the C4s or even wedge the smoke or Echo out of stock, what you can do is you can have somebody start to plant behind the Montaigne and then have Blackbeard posted up behind to add some covering fire for when somebody goes to peek around that corner. But that's not what they did, and the same thing I said was you can even establish a crossfire. Maybe have Blackbeard on that doorway just by kitchen into stock to look into another angle.
I mean, the crossfire that's usually established and that they did actually manage to get was the one inside of garage. If you can get your Astro into garage, open up that wall into lounge, that's that crossfire. That establishes the dominance to allow you to plant the diffuser. But you can see here that PZD is trying to contend this right now, and it looks like Fontt is actually going to rotate off. They're going to say, screw it, we'll just go somewhere else. We don't need to deal with this obviously stacked stock hold. We can use our Montaigne elsewhere.
That's a smart push, and now you can see I think BD is going to realize that as well, and they've already started to move themselves appropriately. And you've got Mav posted up here trying to look and see if he can catch somebody. He sees Wag, but isn't quite quick enough as Psycho gets leadoff kill onto Astro. Now Mav is going to be under fire and will have to slowly work his way out as PZD gets Cameraman down, and we were only 3 kills away from calling Clubhouse in favor of Black Dragons. Though it wasn't their pick, they have done a great job so far. But maybe a bit too premature as Gohan is able to eliminate Julio, and that's the Echo down as well. Smokes from the mountain will go off, and now they're going to look to try to get a plant in, but they're going to need to try to get cover for their Montaigne. It's successful. The diffuser goes down, and now we will reach the final moments of this round. Win or lose, we could potentially stay onwards or call it. And Mav goes to PZD. That's only 2 left. And the Montaigne will stand over top of that diffuser, and it's going to be a tough job for them to wedge him out. Now, keep in mind they still do have a smoke. WAG is still in play. PZD takes to Gohan down, and it is a 1v4, and this is going to be tough for them. They're going to just peek away, and that's it with Moringa going down. Psycho doing a great job on this round, along with PZD. And this is easy for Black Dragons. They'll take it and will be ready for Kafe Dostoyevsky as the ultimate tiebreaker.
So, map number 3, as predicted. I mean, it stands to reason between these two teams. I wasn't expecting it to be such a dominant performance for Black Dragons on Clubhouse of all maps, but they managed to make it work, and in spectacular fashion. That last round, a good attempt from Fontt. I really liked the rotation. I like the fact that they didn't try to commit overly to the stock take. And I also like the fact that they let Mav linger over in the little storage room, because he actually managed to hold up 3 of the defenders and delay their rotation. But it just wasn't enough. And as you can see from the highlights, a great match overall from Black Dragons. And this initial clutch from Kamikaze, I think, really set the tone for the match overall.
Right, and hard to believe that they won 5-2. One of those losses of rounds was to a cash defense. Usually
a cash defense.
A cash defense. Usually you'd think, like, okay, if you're losing 5-2, chances are they took 1 round off you and then 1 downstairs in Church Arsenal. Or heck, maybe they even won 2 downstairs in Church. But no, unbelievably, one of those losses was to cash upstairs, which is just something that really does not happen all that frequently, and it's great to have that here. Now, with Kafe Dostoyevsky, this is a map that you can really take advantage of the destructibility of the floors and of the walls. It makes it so that it's very tough for you to get onto site unless you're upstairs on that 3rd floor in piano. When you look at the compositions of these two teams and how they played so far, there's been a heavy amount of Glaz play. Not so much Ying play.
Yeah.
Not so many C4s used as appropriately as they could.
I mean, we've seen some good use of the C4.
Not as much as you need, though, for Kafe, especially if they're going to be dropping hatch.
So,
or dropping through the skylight. So, give us some predictions.
Okay, just on that note, I'm thinking that it's going to be the team that you emphasizes the C4 below the most and chooses to shut down the C4 as well, because it's very common to see a Valkyrie or a Pulse underneath piano when defending the top floor. Even a Smoke sometimes we've seen from time to time, not using C4, but using his gas grenades through pre-opened holes. It's very common to see that. So the team that places the most emphasis on clearing that out is likely to be the team that has the most success on Kafe, especially with the top floor hold. However, there are so many other ways to successfully defend a top floor. I mean, it's not exactly one of the floors that is difficult to force out. Even after the slight changes they made to the skylight, I don't think that really changed it too much. It really is just the same, hey, hold from cocktail, don't worry about it too much, you'll be fine. It's likely we're going to see a lot of Echo playing in cocktail, which is, by the way, where the A-bomb is on the top floor. And I'm guessing C4 from below, and it's all just going to come down to who clears out those guys.
Right. I would agree. It's going to be a game that doesn't really rely on necessarily your ability to play off-site, but the harder it is for you to take control of any of those floors is, I think, going to be the real focus right now. Because if you can control an entire floor, keep in mind that oftentimes the first floor of Kafe is not that hotly contested depending on how you're playing. And we'll load into Kafe right now and take a look at how well our predictions are going to be applied here. But I think when you look at Kafe, if you can take control of a floor quickly, maybe kill one of the roamers off and force the other back to site, it's not really a map that you can get a lot of benefit out of having a heavy site defense. You need to make sure that you're preventing people from having all of that space in the actual Kafe itself, and you're going to live or die by that.
We'll see what Black Dragons chooses to do, as they will be the first team to defend on this map. And it is going to be a train room defense for their first hold. Now, this is actually interesting because there are a number of teams that have favored the train room over the top floor. But it's going to still remain the two very common bomb site picks. It's going to be the top floor, it's going to be the middle floor. Nobody goes intentionally to the bottom floor. I've seen that happen once. It was flip side, and it resulted in them being eliminated from the season, so...
And now in relegation.
And now in relegation.
Do you want to be relegated? Well, I mean, in this case.
So yeah, maybe just don't pick.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, no bottom floor holds. Just,
you know, you could, but I don't.
Yep.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, so it's unlikely that's going to happen between these two teams, and we're likely to see the two top floor bomb sites be the preferred ones to go to. Now, when we're defending the middle floor, the big question is how much emphasis is being placed on the top floor by the defenders, because that is still where the attackers will clear from. And if you can successfully put up a delay on the top floor, you will likely see more success. Successful equals success. There, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm wondering if they're going to open these panels up. They are. That's going to give them a line of sight. Don't know why I stuttered so hard on that word. But it's going to give them a line of sight from dining all the way over to that one balcony or terrace window that you see a lot of people will push through.
Yep, and Black Dragons very much emphasizing their top floor roam. Have a lot of pressure upstairs, and Fontt are doing the typical attack strat of Kafe in that they linger for a whole minute on the roof before they actually start progressing downstairs. Now, that mirror window has been opened up by Astro. Good job to Astro there, but how meaningful is that really, truly? Not all that much, because, again, it's a basement, no, excuse me. It's a middle floor hold, which means the mirror window will not be quintessential to the hold as a whole. It will simply prompt the defenders to peel off a little bit more and fall back.
Absolutely. And now you can see they're trying to take a hold of this skylight here. And the biggest part, one of the strongest things with Kafe is being able to successfully get inside because of how wide open it is and how quickly you can rotate around Kafe. A big difficulty is actually being able to get inside of the building, which is why I said, and I mean, I could be wrong, but which is why I said that once you can take control of a floor, you put yourselves in very good position, because usually it means that you've dislodged somebody that was holding a certain angle. You can see that Astro now is inside, and he'll try to hunt as Psycho gets found out, but unbelievable shot from Psycho as down goes Astro. Are you kidding me? And that is a very good shot from him.
Psycho has been hitting some psychotic shots today in this match and has been putting his team in a great position. And now with the roam clear successfully stalled out and the kill advantage in the favor of Black Dragons, he's still just going to linger. And he could do so rightfully after he gets challenged from the Blackbeard. He breaks the shield and wins the fight. That's not supposed to happen, Psycho, before being eliminated by Gohan, but the damage is done, ladies and gentlemen, and Fontt will have a very difficult rest of this round, all thanks to one Valkyrie sitting by the Christmas tree.
And not only that have you taken down 2 high-priority targets in your Blackbeard and your Twitch, but you've also wasted a lot of time. We're in the final 20 seconds. This round feels like it just started, but now we're in a position where Black Dragons just needs to weather the storm, and it's very easy for them to do that. And look at that. To shreds goes Cameraman, and they're going to try to push onto the side as they picked up that diffuser, but Mav disoriented on the stairs. He'll peek up, Kamikaze sees him, and a C4 as Kamikaze and Julio add to the kill count. And oh my, Black Dragons 4 rounds away from booking their ticket to the Invitational.
A very definitive defense round, all thanks to Psycho in that top floor inside of Piano. But you also have to hand a little bit of the credit to that loss to Fontt, because how long did they linger on the roof?
Too long.
Way too long. We're 2 minutes. 2 minutes, they're just on the roof. And then the initial challenge onto Psycho comes way too late. They lose it. And then the follow-up just doesn't exist for another 40 seconds. And oh boy, we've lost our Blackbeard now to a Valkyrie, which, by the way, can we just talk about how crazy that is? Because the MPX is one of the worst guns to use when fighting a Valkyrie. It's a pea shooter. It does not have a good time chewing through the Blackbeard shield. And Psycho still managed to win that fight. So
it's good for headshots, but for body shots, it will take you an eternity.
And he chewed through the shield and then also got the headshot. It was a very impressive performance for Psycho, so credit to him. But again, a lot of it really just comes down to Fontt taking way too long. Because they took so long, it's not that they could have won the round, it's that they left them themselves in a position where there was no potential, not even remotely any potential to come back.
And slow peeking as a Blackbeard seems to just reinforce a bad
counterintuitive
habit, because it's, number one, your shield protrudes farther than your body. So if you slow peek as a Blackbeard, your shield is going to be visible for a portion of time before you are. Now, because your shield has general health and isn't actually segmented, 3 shots on that shield will likely kill it before you can get back around from cover, which is exactly what happened. So if you're slow peeking, you're going to lose your shield, and yeah, maybe you'll be able to get a drop on them, but at that point, you know, usually against a worthy foe, that shield goes before you can even see them. That's a big problem. And it's just something that I think is inherent with the character, is that you can form bad habits, slow peeking like that. and you don't get the most usage out of Blackbeard.
A lot of people ask me, is quick peeking useful? And it's not always the best thing in the world. Sometimes it takes up too much of your hand power because you got a lot you have to do with your left hand in this game. But when we're talking about Blackbeard, quick peeking is the best. You need to do it. It is so useful. And if you're wondering what I mean by quick peeking, it's leaning the direction that you don't want to be leaning and then leaning into the direction that you do want to lean very quickly. That will mean if, in that situation, if he had quick peeked, he would have leaned right into his left, which would have meant that the shield would have popped up at the same time his head would have, and Psycho would have pretty much definitively lost that fight as long as the Blackbeard didn't miss every single shot. But all that aside, that's just one little mechanic for one little operator. And we're moving on now with Black Dragons very aggressively establishing control over those east windows onto the cocktail lounge. This is going to be a little bit of a different attack strategy here from Black Dragons, and it's great to see that they're not simply going for a red stairs piano take, because I think that that is honestly super washed up in this meta.
I think it's good, too, that they've decided to guard the upstairs site for Fontt because it'll catch them off guard now. They're basically going to sit themselves in a situation where if they can't flush out any of the roamers or anybody playing inside of that bar or over by the bomb site of A, as you can see, they're starting to do that with the smoke going down from Kamikaze. But you can't just jump with Reckless Abandon through that skylight or else you're going to have a bad time. Here he goes, though. Down goes PZD. Julio's going to get a kill onto Moringa, and now PZD has full control of the site, can start to plant. No C4 for him just yet as Astro gets a kill onto Julio, and you can see down goes Mav as Cameraman takes out PZD. So, PZD, who did have significant positioning up there, will not be able to get a plant off. Wag is going to run up those white stairs and falls Astro. And now, 2 members of Fontt versus 3 members of Black Dragons, but time firmly on the side of Fontt, as they're going to have to wait for the rest of Black Dragons to get inside and start to push. They don't have the diffuser on where it's located, means that they will need to push inside and straight into the line of sight of Gohan. 20 seconds, Psycho tries to come in, a great play from Cameraman, and even if Cameraman falls, which he won't, that's 2 for him. Can he go for a third on the Kamikaze around the corner? The Jackal's going to come in, and a great play. Cameraman picks up 3 kills, and now we see Fontt on the board tied up at 1 apiece.
I really like the attack strategy there from Black Dragons. They had a lot of deviation from the norm. They also, I have to say, that prioritization from the Ying on planting the diffuser, very impressive. Unfortunately, they didn't get the camera before they went for the diffuse plant, which means, oh, look at that. Everyone on defense knows exactly where you are. So it was a very simple case of, oh, hey, he's planting over here, shoot him through the wall. He got shot through the wall, no more diffuse plant, and as a result, the attack stalled out. So despite the man advantage, despite having a very efficient round and having enough time to recover, they didn't have anyone in a good position to get that diffuser and continue the diffuse plan. Also, odd place to plant the diffuser, if I may say so. I don't usually see somebody go for the far northeast corner of that top floor.
Usually it's northwest.
Yeah.
So going northeast is interesting because, I mean, it gives you the same amount of cover, but if you go northwest, the only thing that you're really exposing yourselves to is over by A on the southeast side of the map, as you can see right there, which, with the way the smoke was planted, seems to be the smarter idea. When they went northeast, it was very easy for them to get a good pick inside of that bar stockroom, and that's exactly what happened, and that's how, of course, they perished. Not just the fact that they simply... That's a pretty significant oversight not to get the camera that is literally staring right at you as well. Now
Yep.
Black Dragons, though, because they were successful in their defense and train room, will now have to go upstairs. So we're going to see 2 swapped sites. As when it goes back to Fontt on defense, they will have to go down to what we presume will be a train hold, unless they decide to pull a flip side and go down into the bakery. But regardless, now we see Black Dragons holding upstairs. Look at this composition. Tell me what you think. There's an echo in play as well.
So the composition from Black Dragons stands to the current meta right now. The echo especially is something that I am very happy to see. The one deviation that isn't very normal is the lack of a Mira. Not having a Mira in this situation means that you are going to have a harder time holding the... I mean, come on, Mira is very useful on this top floor. Let's be honest. They also, if I recall, did bring a Mira to the middle floor. So it's kind of counterintuitive. Usually the middle floor is the less favored of the Mira window bomb sites, but in this instance, Black Dragons kind of just going with, I guess, their own interpretation of their hold. And I'm sure they'll be able to make it work. It is, however, going to, I guess, slow down, or not really slow down, just hinder their hold overall. Although, to be honest, every single one of the defenders brings a good amount of utility, even if you don't have a Mira. There's no wrong decisions here.
And I think one of the lessons learned from Fontt is that they're going to probably push together. I think an issue that really affected them in round number 1 was that they staggered themselves. You saw Astro dropped in through the hatch, pushed up into Cigar, got torn to pieces because of that and had no supporting fire whatsoever. And then the rest of Fontt, as they tried to come in, didn't really
Echo Drone.
have much. And yes, the Echo out already. 90 seconds in, and the Echo is going to be out of play. And you can see they now have the ability to move in. Lucky for them, WAG has been running a smoke, and they've been running that dual closers in both smoke and Echo, which is smart, because now even though you've lost the Yokai, at least you still have 3 toxic babes.
The attack strat is also coming from almost entirely the east window here, as you can see. So it looks like it's just going to be a smoke and plant strategy coming out from Fontt. Nothing from below in terms of C4 for Black Dragons to stop this, at least not right now. And the Echo Drone being gone, this is going to likely be pretty successful for Fontt. Julio going to open up the entirety of the wall inside of Freezer, though. He's going to try and give himself at least more maneuverability to try and deny this defuse plant.
And I like where they were playing the smoke down in Reading Room as well. They've opened up the floor and allows him to get his smoke canisters up through the floor and not necessarily risk it. Now you can see Astro is pushing in. Psycho is going to get Astro again, exactly the same as round number 1. And WAG didn't even need to get pressured down there at all. This is going to put Fontt in a tough position, but Gohan is going to try to make it a little easier. And oh no, Gohan, what are you doing? Moringa, a team kill. And a grenade gets tossed into that bar stockroom. And nothing there waiting for them. The diffuser up on that windowsill. They'll have to rappel in, but only 15 seconds to go, and you'll see the toxic babes go out now. This is going to be a suicide mission as WAG gets a kill using his SMG. And the moment that the Blackbeard comes in, Kamikaze cleans up. It's all up to Mav, who's going to get 1, but has 3 seconds to get 3 kills. Just simply will not be able to do it, whether he can or not. Kamikaze puts an exclamation point on the end of that one. Once again, a familiar refrain. Fontt taking too long to get inside, and Black Dragons being able to capitalize on that.
And you know what's really, really weird for me? Black Dragons read that attack. Like, can we just talk about how there were 3 Jaegers in that white hallway? 2 on the right side, 1 on the left side. There was a preemptively opened up hole inside of Reading Room. There was also an established hold from Psycho to deny aggression into Reading Room from the east balcony. There was also an Echo Drone placed over by the east windows despite it being lost early on. They very clearly were expecting Team Fontt to do what is typically regarded as abnormal, which is attack from the east side. So that was a stacked defense from Black Dragons, and Fontt walked right into it. Also, that miscommunication on the Ying repelling in, using her Candelas and repelling in, and just the Blackbeard challenging at the wrong moment. That's the sort of thing you need to talk to each other when you're doing that. You'd be like, hey, I'm going in. And then Blackbeard's like, oh, okay, well then I won't shoot you as you repel in then.
And almost inexcusable at this level of play, number 1. And number 2, you stall out there at that time because you can't really get your smokes and Candelas the maximum usage out of them. That's a big problem. And for the team, it's like not only that, but you've also got to factor in the human element too. That's something where you get defeated and you can even start arguing, you can get frustrated, tilted very quickly. And it's hard just mentally to come back from that sometimes because that's a sloppy mistake.
And you don't want to put it all on one mistake to say, oh, this is why you lost a round, Blackbeard team kill. Rah.
But it's a big factor.
But honestly, it is probably why they lost the round. Let's be completely honest here, because there wasn't actually a lot in hand from Black Dragons in the later end of that round to try and deny the defuse plant. If he'd just gone for the defuse plant in the corner, Blackbeard there to cover, as long as the Blackbeard is successful in covering, the defuse plant will go down. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll win the round, but it would have been at least a step closer than they got.
Not to mention that it would be one more operator that the defenders would have to take out themselves that you've just taken out for them. And that's a big issue. And I mean, yeah, Ying's not really known for her killing potential or her prowess in that regard, but it's the usefulness of the gadgets that you're losing to on top of all of that. So there's a number of reasons why that was just simply an unfortunate mistake on their regard. And now you can see they'll have to be a little bit better on defense than they were on attack, or else they'll find themselves going down to a 3-1 deficit, and that's a tough hole to crawl out of.
It's going to be a defense of the middle floor, though, from Fontt in order to attempt to bring it back somewhat. Black Dragon's going to be doing the typical start with the top floor, move your way down, and they will be establishing at least information before they start putting their bodies in harm's way. Smart play here from Black Dragons, but I would hate to see them do what Fontt has been doing oh so commonly, which is stalling out on these attacks, taking way too much time on the roof. Fontt just waiting patiently. They're not going to expose themselves unnecessarily because, hey, they don't need to. 1 minute left on the clock and 12 seconds, and only now will Black Dragons start to take control of Piano. But they have it, and that's what's important. C4 is going to be missing from below, and the holes opened up in the floor will be forcing out the Fontt defenders.
You can see surveying from above. Julio's going to meet first contact, but Gohan wins that fight. And he just somehow completely doesn't see Kamikaze on the stairs. What is going on? And Black Dragons is able to get a kill that they really shouldn't have deserved. That should have been easy for Gohan, but just simply looks the wrong way. Maybe the ash blended in with the red carpet. I have no
It was
idea.
the railing. It was the railing. It was unlucky. He didn't check the whole plateau of those stairs. But more importantly, why was he going there? He has a teammate holding red stairs. That was a nonsensical rotation. Meanwhile, Cameraman going to get a kill onto Kamikaze, and the defense is looking stronger and stronger. Psycho, though, with the refrag onto Astro. And another kill for Cameraman. He's putting in a lot of work on this mirror window. Missing the C4, but the 2 SMG kills, that's all that really matters. Psycho inside of the bomb site. Wag going to be going for the defuse plant over by the kitchen, but the walls have been opened up, and from outside, Moringa going to eliminate Wag, and Mav with a kill onto Psycho. That's all she wrote.
A back and forth contest, a good hold from Fontt. That's what they need. And even though there was that miscue, still strong so far. And every team has won every defense so far. No attacking rounds have prevailed yet.
So, you gotta imagine the first team to walk away with an attack win is probably going to set the mood and likely establish some sort of dominance. Fuse coming up from Moringa, at least early on in this pick phase, and that could be something odd to see. However, going on to an attack on Kafe, if they're attacking the middle floor, honestly, it's not that bad.
No, and I like to see what they do with this Fuse. I mean, Fuse does come out every now and then on this site. I think the two, or on this map, I think the 2 maps that we see the most Fuses would probably be Chalet as well as Kafe.
I've seen it sometimes on Consulate, but honestly, it's not as commonly picked as you're right. Yeah, Chalet and Kafe are definitely the top 2 by far.
It speaks to the fact that almost all of the floors and I guess surfaces on every single level, with the exception of some of the walls, are completely destructible. And one thing to touch upon, and this is mostly just for people that are newer to the game, Fuse is very good at clearing out the objective of gadgets, not necessarily used to get kills.
Yeah.
It's very uncommon for you to see Fuse be able to get a kill on site. Now, it does happen. It's rare. It's extremely rare, but it's not impossible. Usually you will see a Fuse who you'll be able to fuse a floor above, and what's that going to do is cluster charges are number 1, they're going to destroy the floor entirely, which means that you're able to see through the floor. Let's say you fuse one of these windows here inside of Cigar or Piano, those fuse charges are going to blow up the floor, and when you get inside of that room, you're now going to be able to look down through all those holes in the floor. Number 2, it's going to be able to take out your black eyes. It's going to be able to take out any ADSs you may have, bandit charges, mute jammers, anything that they're running. And that's incredibly helpful too. Now, of course, with notifications off, as this heads-up display does not show points, you don't necessarily know what you're destroying, but you're hoping for the best most of the time.
Right. And just in general, it's the sort of operator that you'll bring when you're like, yeah, I don't really need any other form of utility. There's nothing else I'm thinking to myself. Oh yeah, I need this operator, I need that operator. In this instance, Fontt doesn't need a Thermite. They don't need a Thatcher. We're talking about attacking the middle floor here. It's not essential. So, may as well bring a Fuse instead of a Twitch. But because they don't have a Twitch, they are actually going to get stalled out somewhat when they address this top floor because of the mirror window inside of the freezer. So we'll see if it was the right decision in the end. Time's ticking away though, and what is Fontt doing in Terrabang? Are they taking a lot of time on the roof again?
What a surprise.
They are going to be clearing from the top of red stairs, but with only half the round left to go, this is still very late, and it's worrisome. Mav is actually clearing downstairs, though, and that could be, I guess, a good flank potential. Black Dragons is unlikely to expect that, as it's not something that has happened yet on Kafe. Could catch them off guard, but who knows? That is a odd curveball to throw from Fontt.
PZD gives his position away to Astro, but the Bandit of Kamikaze able to take out Gohan, and that is the Ashdown. Moringa's going to hot drop, and not a single cluster charge has gone off yet, and I wonder if we're going to hear the cacophony of fuse charges anytime in the near future. But no, so far just going in and hunting for anybody on site. I don't exactly know what Fontt is doing right now. PZD goes down, so that is a successful kill on behalf of Fontt to put us at a 4v4. You've lost your Ashe and your Ella, and you can see the Hibana will now go to work on that wall just outside of Train Room. 35 seconds left does not allow you a ton of time to be able to get in here. And they just now begin their push, and it might simply be a set of circumstances where, once again, Fontt has taken way too long to get into the site. Stakes are high, however, and you'll see a C4 goes off. Nothing at all. Julio gets torn to shreds from Astro above, who is putting in a lot of work. He has the 2 kills so far for his team, and a lot of smokes as well. One thing, too, for Fuse to keep in mind is, of course, he brings with him those smokes. Wag and Psycho get kills on Mav and Astro as Cameraman takes down Wag, but in the background, Moringa getting the diffuser off as Cameraman, the only other member of the team. Diffuser is successful. You've got Kamikaze and Psycho still up, and now it's just up to Moringa, who's going to have to do battle, looks towards Kamikaze, and it's Psycho who is in the train. He gets spotted, but Moringa, a beautiful crossfire from Black Dragons, great coordination. They'll get that diffuser quite easily, and they win the round. And like we said, back and forth, but what happened? Fontt took way too long.
Tick frickin' tock, man.
Again.
Tick tock. I mean, it was... They had the clear on the piano, but once they had actually, like, once they poised themselves properly, 20 seconds. No, that's not enough time. And you could see there from the Fuse. He planted in the middle of the smoke. That's not where he wanted to plant. The ideal position to be planting is further by the bomb, much safer and much easier to defend. But he just had to start planting right then and there. Otherwise, he was risking just losing the round on time again. And it was almost close enough for the Fuse to be able to clutch that out. It was a nice attempt, but honestly, it just comes down to the time. And then more importantly, the inefficiency of the roam clear itself, because they didn't even clear out fully the roamers on the top floor. They just allowed them to fall back. Which meant that Black Dragons had plenty of fighting power left in them when they were going for the retake. You saw there, I mean, it was a simple case of, yes, they had top core control, and they forced all of Black Dragons out of the bomb site, but lo and behold, the Black Dragons can come back into the bomb site. After the fuse was planted, it was a simple case of a retake.
The other thing, too, the Fuse died after only using 1 cluster charge.
Yeah.
Now, typically, you would just dive bomb that site and just carpet bomb it and use all 3 of your cluster charges everywhere. You saw that Psycho was sitting inside of that one train. Very high likelihood that if you use all 3 of your cluster charges on that ceiling, 1 is going to bounce in there, or at least near 2 to down them. The one thing that was working against them, I hate to sound like a broken record, was they ran out of time to use all the cluster charges. Why did they not get those extra 2 ones off? Because by the time those 2 cluster charges would have detonated, you would have been dropping into the site with under 10 seconds left when there was only 25 seconds. You do that 30 seconds earlier and you can safely use all 3 of those cluster charges, maybe get a kill, maybe push them out of the site, but at least it's enough chaos to potentially upend the defense. In this case, they only had time to get 1 bout of those cluster charges off and then drop in. That is an issue because you're not getting the most usage out of your operators, number 1. And number 2, you didn't do a sufficient job of clearing off that site. And yes, while you did get the diffuser down, there really wasn't much of an opportunity to find your footing after that because there was only 2 of you left, one of whom was Cameraman, who had next to no health.
Yeah, and now, despite all that, though, despite Fontt being very slow in their attacks, they have yet to lose a defense, same as Black Dragons. So, it's still very much, there's potential in the way of Fontt making a total comeback here without even winning an attack. It could go to overtime, and it could be the team that gets defense first just wins, period, because nobody can force out an attack round. But this is going to be, this particular round we're watching right now is going to be Black Dragon's attempt at breaking that mold, at denying that prophecy by putting it onto match point. However, they are also, similar to Fontt, spending a lot of time on the roof.
It's just one of the things at Kafe, though, too, and I think...
It is Kafe, true.
I think it's Kafe, but also on top of Kafe, Wag just walks right in and tears Astro asunder. Unbelievable luck there from him.
That's what you need to be happening in the earlier stages of the round, and now that they've got that control underneath in the reading room, they've got a lot more leeway when they're going to actually pressure into Cocktail in just a couple minutes here.
And you can see the ADS will eat up that entire round of X-Kairos. That's good usage of the gadget. And PZD is getting the plant down, and a good covering fire there from the Glaz of Psycho, who's just watching and ensuring nothing happens. Now as Kamikaze gets rid of Gohan, then Diffuser down. This is trouble right now for the defense. But answering back are Cameraman and Mav, getting on the board alongside Kamikaze now, who puts it at a 3v2 in favor of Black Dragons, who would move to match point if they are successful, and would also be the first time that an attacking team is able to take it. Moringa gets softened up by Kamikaze at Skylight, and he cannot return fire as Julio takes down Mav, and that leaves just the smoke of Moringa, who is going to be under fire from 3 members of Black Dragons, trying to fight against the Diffuser, can't do it. First attacking round goes to Black Dragons, and overtime looking unlikely as BD now 1 round away from guaranteeing their spot in Montreal.
Match point, serious point, Black Dragons, they have been seeming very strong on Kafe so far, and with that successful attack. So what happened there on that round, too, just real quick? Well, they did the same exact attack strat they did last time, but this time the Diffuse Planter could not be seen. He was outside of visual range, and as a result, he safely got the Diffuse Plant down and didn't have to really worry too much about anything else. Then, after that, there were 3 players from the attacking team on the roof still, and they had almost no potential to lose that round. I mean, it's just cover from the Skylight. It's real simple. So it looks like we will be having a rehost, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. It's still going to be 4-2 in favor of Black Dragons, though, on Kafe, and they will be going into a defensive round, so we'll be favoring them.
Yeah, and we'll see if they can get back in here and set up the menu or not. And Cameraman dropping out for Fontt, unfortunate. It will allow both teams to catch their breath, though, especially if you're Fontt. You can sort of go through things, but you're also going to be hopping back in where all Black Dragons needs to do is win 1 single round, and that is it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of pressure, to be honest. And again, the stakes are high. We're talking about that invite. Sounds funny, but that is what we are talking about, and it's a very important thing to have. If you could just get it out of the way, don't have to think about it right now, then, I mean, that'd be very helpful. So Black Dragons, honestly, putting up much more. I just want to talk about this, too. Black Dragons are putting up way more of a fight than I was expecting against Fontt. I was thinking that Fontt was going to be taking away this series, to be honest, but we did talk about earlier how Black Dragons definitely won in the ban phase, 100%. They were bullying Fontt in the ban phase. It was pretty freaking clear. Because Fontt was getting rid of the maps that they're like, we don't want to play this. We don't want to play that. We really don't want to play this. Either that or they were trying to hide, of course, maps that they've practiced and want to wait for at least LAN. Either way, though, Black Dragons did win that ban phase, and it seems to be shining through on this final map of Kafe.
And for me, I mean, I'm not surprised that Black Dragons is going to win this. We came into this thinking that.
Well, we don't know if they're going to win it. They're slotted to win it right now.
It could go either way still. There's a lot of games left to play, and let's not forget that in map number 1, Black Dragons was up by the same score and still lost, as Fontt was able to come back and win 4 in a row to close it out. So there's still a lot of tread left on these tires of this game. Yeah. We can see whether it's going to end soon or not once this game gets started. But for me, I suspect that of the 4 playoffs that we saw between Mantis and Ainz, between Continuum and Infamy, and then what we will eventually see in a couple days between Penta and ENCE, this was going to be the closest of the 4 of them. I think by far and away this was going to be the one match to watch of all 4. If you can only watch one, probably this one, and it's been a very exciting contest so far. And that's because Black Dragons has come out of not nowhere, but I think heading into the season, a lot of people said, oh, BRK and Fontt are probably going to do it again. They're likely going to be the 2 to represent the teams. Well, Black Dragons said, not so fast. And here we are now, proving that they haven't really looked that beatable. Fontt has had a couple blowouts along the way, which, I mean, hey,
we've talked about it before.
You can lose a match really hard and come back, and that's fine. But I think Black Dragons has looked like one of the most consistent teams, though Fontt has had the most experienced roster. And I think what we're seeing right now is consistency versus experience, and consistency is winning at the moment.
I've talked about this before. I do think that Fontt, to be honest, as a team is just, they are very much an on-LAN team. They are not an on-LAN team. They're not an online team. They can't, they don't perform as well in terms of like their own region competition.
Right.
When they get to the LAN event and they start playing against other regions, they have a much better go of it. They seem to play on an elevated plane as to their normal style. We are going to be jumping into the match. Thank you so much for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it is going to be 4-2 in favor of Black Dragons, and they will be swinging onto a defense, the side that has been commonly favored throughout Kafe so far in this series.
The only offensive win is Black Dragons, who just won. So.
Right, and that's how they got onto the match point. So as we load on into the game, it looks like we will be actually having another rehost. So we're not going to be loading into the game just yet. Yeah, we'll be getting there as soon as we possibly can.
So because of the fact that the lobby was just created, it's very likely that we might need a break. We'll hold on for just a second here and see what exactly is going on. They might just be simply reconnecting. But it does look like we are definitely going to need another rehost, in which case then we will likely throw to a break just while it gets situated here. Our apologies for technical difficulties today.
Sometimes happens.
Sometimes happens. It's just the very nature of anything like this. The fact that I was going to say we hadn't had a rehost up until a couple moments ago has been actually pretty great for the...
It's been a pretty good run so far.
It has been, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll toss to a break. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes when the lobby is ready, and then we will see the conclusion of Kafe Dostoyevsky. Take care.
Black Dragons. Black Dragons starting on defense again. It is 4-2 in their favor. Fontt going to be the ones that have to struggle against the tide here as they attempt to attack onto a bar defense from Black Dragons. That again being the top floor, it is the preferred by most.
Right, and this could be it. I mean, two rehosts will unfortunately not really change much for either of these teams. I know that usually, like, sometimes when you get the opportunity to take a deep breath, that could potentially have you regain your footing. But in a case like this, you've got Fontt needing to come in and needing to do what they did in game number 1, which is win 4 rounds in a row and push this into overtime and take it. If not, I mean, that would be one heck of a comeback if we saw it. But as it stands right now, I think momentum firmly in favor of Black Dragons.
Not only momentum, but just objectively. You look at the positioning again and the outcome of all of these rounds so far, they have got to be feeling very comfortable to just lock this out. But there's still potential for Fontt to make the comeback happen, and they are a very skilled team, so they have very much the chances there. We'll see what they choose to do, though. The one thing that I think is going to hinder them if they going into this round is if they just kind of sit on the roof for 2 minutes, they're probably going to lose.
And that seems to be an unfortunate story of Fontt so far on Kafe. And of course, it is inherent in the actual map itself. It's
part of the map, but at the same time, you need to start placing pressure on other places. Like,
correct.
When we saw the last round, the first attack win on this map, there were still a lot of people from Black Dragons on the roof. 3, in fact, stayed on the roof the entire round, and it was part of their strategy. They had one person in that Ying go down to plant the diffuser via cover of smoke, and then the Hibana rushing in from the east balcony to pressure underneath to deny the C4 from below. So it was, yes, lots of people on the roof, but it played to the strength of the strat. What we've been seeing from Fontt is just lingering on the roof, but unfortunately, they're just kind of looking for picks, trying to give themselves opportunities, and that is what has been really hurting them in these rounds.
And you can already see that they're trying something a little bit different now and putting some pressure on the reading room, which they did last time as well, except it was the opposite. Wag just walked right in and took Astro out, and now you can see Astro's the one who's going to pressure in the reading room with Wag down there. So just a role reversal inside of that reading room, and they're already halfway through the round, and Fontt haven't exactly stalled out, but they need to move now, or else they're going to be victim to the clock yet again.
And it's going to be the same strat they tried last time, which is smoke and plant over by Cocktail. Now, hopefully this time there's not going to be a team kill coming out from Gohan onto the repelling in Moringa, but we'll see in due course. Astro going to clear out the ADSs in the hallway using his Hibana, and that is a very efficient use of his utility. As time ticks away, though, again, Fontt needs to lay down those smokes and plant the diffuser. Also, there's Psycho underneath. He is very easily going to be able to deny the diffuse plant with C4 if Fontt is incapable of clearing out reading room from below before they actually repel in. And again, with 40 seconds to go, that's 2 steps that they have to take that they just haven't yet. And as they lose Astro, I'm guessing that was his job, was to clear out reading room, and he's down out of the count. And here we go, a flurry of kills as it's back and forth between these two teams, resulting in a 2-on-4, 1-on-3 now as the trade comes out, and it's all down to Mav against the world.
He's the last one left in 20 seconds to send Black Dragons to the Invitational in February in Montreal and also take round number 1. He drops in and immediately concussed by that mine. You can see that certain members of Black Dragons are low on health, but with only 5 seconds, he's up against the world. Not gonna do it. Psycho takes him down. Black Dragons can put a GG in chat, and to Montreal they will go, booking their ticket to the Invitational and will be representing their country in Sao Paulo as the number 1 seed.
So, while both of these teams will be going to the Brazilian Land Finals, they will be having Black Dragons as that number 1 seed. That's so important. That's going to give them good advantage there. And wow, Kafe was slanted towards Black Dragons. I was not expecting that. It was oh so slanted. Clearly the only team, or between the two,